Hello, and welcome back to another video. Today, we will be going over a different topic. We will be going over the Battle of Asculum, which took place in 279 BC in the Pyrrhic War, and was fought between the Samnites, Epirotes, Aetolians, Acarnanians, Athenians, Thessalians, Tarentines, Samnites, Lucanians, and Bruttians against the Roman Republic and their Latin allies. But before we start, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so that you're notified when we next upload. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. The Battle of Asculum was a poorly documented battle that took place near Asculum, modern Ascoli Satriano, in 279 BC, and was thought to have lasted either 1 or 2 days, between the Roman Republic under the command of the consuls Publius Decius Mus, who by some accounts died before the battle, and Publius Sulpicius Saverio, and the forces of King Pyrrhus of Epirus. The battle took place during the Pyrrhic War, after the Battle of Heraclea of 280 BC, which was the first battle of the war. There currently exists accounts of this battle only by 3 ancient historians, Dionysius of Halicarnassus, Plutarch, and Cassius Dio, although these historians in turn reference other historians whose work is now lost. Asculum was in Lucanian territory, in southern Italy. The Battle of Asculum was the original Pyrrhic victory. The result of the battle is not definitively known, with Plutarch stating that it was a Pyrrhic Greek victory, Cassius Dio recording it as a Roman victory. The constituents of both armies are also poorly known, with each historian offering largely divergent estimates for the strength of the armies or the length of the battle. Cassius Dio wrote that during the winter of 280-279 BC, both sides prepared for the next battle. In the spring of 279 BC, Pyrrhus invaded Apulia. Many places were captured or capitulated. The Romans came upon him near Asculum and encamped opposite him. In Plutarch's account, after resting his army, Pyrrhus marched to Asculum to confront the Romans. According to Dionysius of Halicarnassus, Pyrrhus had 70,000 infantry, of whom 16,000 were Greeks. The Romans had more than 70,000 infantry, of whom about 20,000 were Romans, for legions which at the time had 4,000 men each, the rest being troops from allies. The Romans had about 8,000 cavalry, and Pyrrhus had slightly more, plus 19 war elephants. The 1st century AD Roman senator Frontinus estimated a strength of 40,000 men for both sides. Pyrrhus had men from Thesprotia, Ambracia, and Chaon, 2 cities and a district in Epirus, and mercenaries from the Aetolians, Acarnanians, and Athenians. These Greeks fought in the Macedonian phalanx battle formation. He had cavalry squadrons from Thessaly. The Greeks of the city of Tarentum, in southern Italy, were allies of Pyrrhus. Pyrrhus also had allies from 3 Italic peoples in southern Italy, the Brutii, Lucani, and Samnites. Among the allies of Rome mentioned by Dionysius of Halicarnassus, there were the Frontani, Maricini, Paeligni, Doni, and Umbrians. There might also have been contingents from the Marsi and Vestini, who were also allies of Rome. Since Pyrrhus' elephants had caused much terror and destruction in the Battle of Heraclea, the Romans devised special wagons against them. They were 4-wheeled and had poles mounted transversely on upright beams. They could be swung in any direction. Some had iron tridents, spikes, or sides, and some had cranes that hurled down heavy grappling irons. Many poles protruded in front of the wagons and had fire-bearing grapnels wrapped in cloth daubed with pitch. The wagons carried bowmen, hurlers of stones, and slingers who threw iron caltrops, and men who threw grapnels on fire against the trunks and faces of the elephants. The Romans had 300 such wagons. Pyrrhus lined up the Macedonian phalanx of the Epirots and Ambracians, mercenaries from Tarentum with white shields, and the Brutii and Lucani allies on the right wing. The Thesprotians and Chaonians were deployed in the center next to the Aetolian, Acarnanian, and Athenian mercenaries. The Samnites formed the left wing. On the right wing of the cavalry were the Samnite, Thessalian, and Brutii squadrons and Tarentine mercenaries. On the left wing were the Ambracian, Lucanian, and Tarentine squadrons and Acarnanian, Aetolian, Macedonian, and Athenian mercenaries. Pyrrhus divided the light infantry and the elephants into 2 groups and placed them behind the wings, on a slightly elevated position. Pyrrhus had an agema of 2,000 picked cavalrymen behind the battle line to help hard-pressed troops. The Romans had their 1st and 3rd legions on the right wing. The 1st faced the Epirot and Ambracian phalanx and the Tarentine mercenaries. The 3rd faced the Tarentine phalanx with white shields and the Brutii and Lucani. The 4th legion formed the center. The 2nd legion was on the right wing. The Latins, Volsci, and Campanians, who were part of the Roman Republic, and Rome's allies were divided into 4 legions which were mingled with the Roman legions to strengthen all the lines. The light infantry and wagons which were to be deployed against the elephants were outside the line. Both the Roman and the allied cavalry were on the wings. As of today, we will be taking Cassius Dio's account. Cassius Dio wrote that the two sides avoided each other for several days. There were rumors that Publius Decius Mus, one of the 2 consuls for 279 BC, was getting ready to devote himself like his father and grandfather. In a devotio, a Roman commander sacrificed his life by launching himself into the enemy ranks as a vow to the gods in exchange for victory when the Roman troops were overwhelmed. This galvanized the Roman soldiers. The rumor alarmed the Italic followers of Pyrrhic, who believed that Decius' death would ruin them. Pyrrhic endeavored to reassure them and ordered them to seize alive anyone who wore the garments the Decii family used when devoting themselves. He sent a man to tell Publius Decius that he would not succeed in his intent, and after being taken alive, he would die miserably. The Roman consuls replied that there was no need to resort to a devotio, because the Romans would defeat him without it. In Cassius Dio's version of the battle, the river between the 2 camps was not easy to ford. The Romans asked whether Pyrrhic would choose to cross it unmolested or whether he would allow them to do so unharmed so that the 2 forces would fight intact, thus giving an accurate test of their valor. Pyrrhic, confident of the strength of his elephants, allowed the Romans to cross the river. However, the Romans deployed their wagons against the elephants, shooting fire and missiles. The Romans gradually forced the Epirotes back until Pyrrhic moved the elephants to the other end of the line, away from wagons. He used them to charge the Roman cavalry, which was routed by the elephants before they even got close. Meanwhile, Samdoni had set out against the camp of the Epirotes. This won the battle for the Romans because when Pyrrhic sent some of his men against them, the rest suspected that the camp had fallen and that their companions had fled. Because of this, they gave way. Many fell, and Pyrrhic and many of his officers were wounded. Others died later because of lack of food and of medical supplies. Pyrrhic withdrew to Tarentum before the Romans became aware of this. The Romans did not pursue him because many of their men were wounded. They went into winter quarters in Apulia, while Pyrrhic sent for soldiers and money from home and went on with his other preparations. Plutarch noted that according to Hieronymus of Cardia, the Romans lost 6,000 men, and that, according to Pyrrhic's own commentaries, he lost 3,505 men. He wrote that Dionysius of Halicarnassus made no mention of 2 battles at Asculum, nor of an admitted defeat of the Romans, and that in a passage which is now lost, Dionysius wrote that over 15,000 men on both sides fell in the battle. Plutarch also wrote that Pyrrhic said to someone who was congratulating him, "If we are victorious in one more battle with the Romans, we shall be utterly ruined." This was because he lost a great part of the forces he had brought to Italy and most of his commanders. He could not call up more men from home, and his allies in Italy were becoming indifferent. The Romans, instead, could quickly replenish their forces as if from a fountain gushing forth indoors, and did not lose courage or determination in defeat. Realizing that he could not win a war against the Romans, Pyrrhic accepted a request from the Greek city-states of eastern and southern Sicily to help them against the Carthaginians in western Sicily. He went to Sicily and campaigned there for 3 years. His allies in southern Italy were aggrieved because he abandoned them. He took over all the Carthaginian domains in Sicily except for the stronghold of Lilybaeum. His siege of this city was unsuccessful. After this, he wanted to build a large fleet to invade Carthage's home territory in Africa. He needed to man and equip these ships, and to do this, he treated the Greek city-states despotically. These cities turned against him. He was forced to return to southern Italy. He fought the Romans at the Battle of Beneventum, 275 BC, where he was defeated. He then left Italy and returned to Epirus. And that's it for today. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe and turn on that notification bell so that you're notified when we next upload.
Elite
We'll
warriors
see you
feared
next time.
soldiers and